What's up, fellas, ladies, gentlemen, children,
What's up, fellas?
children of all ages? Wake Up Mintzy, presented by Dude Wipes, drinking some Stella Blue. Joined this morning, last show of the year. I want to thank Taylor McGregor coming in the Barstool office. On her way, heading to Austin later today.
Yeah, it's going to be much warmer in Austin than it is in Chicago because I did not dress properly this morning. I walked out of my apartment and it's freezing cold. So looking forward to the weather in Austin and looking forward to being on with you. I mean, we have all sorts of things to discuss because, I mean, there was social media outrage last night, which we'll get into. Of course, the college football playoff. The list goes on. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah, last show of the year, too. Holiday spirit, tidings of comfort and joy. As I said, drinking Stella Blue as always. You got Dude Wipes to clean up all messes. Amazon, Walmart, Target, all over the World Wide Web. Check out their Dingle Bell Rocks product. I mean, Dude Wipes. Their best social media is the best, and one use will change your life. That's for sure, and we appreciate the support of Wake Up Mintzy. All right, a lot of stuff to get into with Taylor this morning. For those...
Wait. Hold on. I'm getting a little hot in here.
Oh!
Okay.
Mintzy fan.
Arrived.
Let's go.
I bought this on Black Friday.
Look at that. Thank you, Taylor. Look at the
I
support.
had to support my friends.
There you go.
And it's comfy too, by the way.
Yeah.
It's really comfy. So
I mean, look at that. Look at that
wearing this
18-year-old me with that haircut.
King of the South.
Let's go, Taylor. You're pumping my tires, making my day. Beautiful Thursday here. We're just freezing our asses off in Chicago. Taylor, for those of you who aren't stoolies or aren't familiar, unbelievable career to follow. Right now, football season, working the sidelines for ESPN SEC Network, and headed to Austin. You get to work the first college football playoff ever.
I'm so excited. I just feel so grateful. These are the games that you work your career to do. So super, super fired up, and we have a great matchup. Texas, Clemson. Texas, the big-time favorite right now, but don't sleep on Clemson. Fresh off a big ACC championship win, Cade Klubnik is rolling. I'm excited to see what they could bring. You know, Davo is a master motivator, and he has really cultivated this ideal within the players in his program that it's Clemson versus everybody, Clemson against the world. And so they're going to come out ready to play, and Cade Klubnik returns back to Austin. So,
is he from there?
Yeah, he's from there. So he actually grew up 8 minutes from the stadium. His parents were Texas A&M fans, and then you know this story about him and Quinn Ewers.
I don't.
Okay, so Quinn Ewers, the quarterback at Texas, they played each other in the state championship game when they were in high school. So this is a rematch of a high school state championship game from Texas. Isn't that so cool?
That is
cool. And there were
cool.
multiple players from both teams that were on their different squads in high school. So just kind of a cool story within the state of Texas. I actually talked to Cade Klubnik's high school coach, who is a legendary high school football coach in the state of Texas, Todd Dodge. He went to Westlake High School, Cade did, and Todd was the head coach there at the time, formerly at South Lake Carroll. So, I mean, he coached Greg McElroy, a lot of those great
Chase
quarterbacks.
Daniel came through
Chase
there.
Daniel, a lot. I mean, there's so
Nick
many.
Foles, I think, too, is West. Yeah,
Well, I don't think he coached Nick Foles, but Nick Foles did go to Westlake.
Yeah, Drew Brees went to Westlake, too.
Yes, correct. So, anyways, and he just had so many amazing things to say about Cade, and Cade basically played hurt that state championship game, and really turns it on when the lights are the brightest, and they're going to be bright in Austin with all. He said, this is literally his quote to me. He goes, "Everybody I've ever known in my life will be at this game."
Wow.
So it's an away game for Clemson, but in a way it's a home game for Cade Klubnik. So it's going to be fun.
Well, fascinating matchup. So, I mean, you get the one not cold weather playoff game too. I mean, all the other ones are, you got kind of a good draw.
Well, okay, so breaking news, Mintzy and I are friends. So I told you this. I immediately...
She said no, by the way. I'm joking.
I did say no. No, you said no. But
yeah, exactly.
We digress. Okay.
I said no. That's what I meant to say.
Yes. So when we found out the matchups, the first thing I did was get on Google and look up the weather in the respective cities. And I saw Austin was going to be 65 on the 21st, and I said, give me that game. And then the college football gods were in my favor, and we got that game. So super excited. It's going to be a great matchup, and the weather's going to be nice. Looking forward to that.
Heck yeah. So Saturday afternoon, Austin, Texas, sold-out game. A lot of fun stuff with that. You mentioned the Dabo motivation. I think Clemson's got a shot. Texas is like a 12, 13-point favorite, which seems real high. When you look at Clemson's year, it's been a weird year. You know, they got smoked by Georgia week 1, but that doesn't even count. That's so long ago. They were rolling, and then they had that horrible loss to Louisville. And then they got gutted by South Carolina.
But so I think gutted, the proper term of just like devastated. But like you look at the way that game unfolded, they basically dominated. They were in control of that whole game. Dominates the stretch. They were in control that whole game until the very end. And South Carolina is a really good team. So, and I think Clemson was dealing with a lot of injuries. They still are, by the way. Their lead star running back, Phil Maffa, dealing with a shoulder injury that will require postseason surgery. So they got banged up a little bit, just to your point. Like, they were rolling. They lost to South Carolina, a very good South Carolina team, but they were in control for a majority of that game.
Yeah, they were. They were winning most of the game, and then the South Carolina Sellers, that quarterback, just ends up running for over 150. But they bounced back against SMU. You know, they were up 14-0 early in the ACC championship. They almost blew it. It was 31-14 in the fourth that SMU came back, but Clemson got them in overtime. And, look, they've got that thing that's always dangerous where there's, like, nothing to lose for them because people didn't think they'd be here at this point.
Yeah.
And then the Texas side of it, you look at Texas, one of the best defenses in the country, granted played a weaker schedule, hadn't really played an elite passing attack. I've got questions about Quinn Ewers. Texas' offense down the stretch, like, yeah, they were winning, but they scored 20 points at Arkansas, beat A&M 17-7, lost to Georgia, I believe it was 22-19, I think, in overtime in the SEC championship. Their offense hasn't, I don't know, I think Arch Manning should be in there. That's my thoughts.
I think we could see him. I honestly thought we would see a lot more of Arch in the SEC championship game. That's not the way it played out, but perhaps we will. I should know more tomorrow when we meet with Texas. But I think it's interesting with this Texas team because you think Steve Sarkisian and you think an offensive mind, they should be really good offensively, but it's been their defense that's gotten them to this position. And I think for me, that's the key matchup in this game. Will Texas's defense look like they've looked all year against a good passing attack in what the Clemson Tigers bring to the table? And we know Cade Klubnik is a very good quarterback, and he's getting better, I think, as the year has gone on, much better than he was a year ago. And even I look forward to him next year, potentially seeing what he could do. They have some really talented young receivers. If you're not familiar with Brian Wesco Jr., Google the name because from Texas, undersized kid, but heavily recruited towards the back end of his high school career. And he has lit it up for the Tigers this year, had his best game in the ACC championship game. And I look for him to have another big performance on Saturday. So I'm fascinated by that dynamic, right? It's sort of good on good. Clemson has a good offense and Texas has a really good defense. So who will win out in that matchup?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Hey, the other thing is, can Texas finish drives? Because they've been settling for a lot of field goals. Because I think that's a whole thing, their red zone. Like, Quinn Ewers, look, I don't mean to be a huge hater. He's got a great arm. He's had a good career. I just feel like everybody's waited on him to take that next step, and it's never really happened. And, you look at him, like, I have a problem, like, his release is low, and so I feel like he gets a lot of balls batted, like, watching those games. And then, he's not the most mobile, and then sometimes he turns the ball over.
And I would say that's where, it's hard to defend a dual-threat quarterback, period, and you're seeing more and more of it in college football. And that's where Clemson's had trouble this year, is with the dual threat guy. And so that's why I think, you could potentially see more of Arch Manning, but we'll see. Again, I thought we would have seen more prior to this point, and we have not. So I could be wrong, but might be Arch Manning's game on Saturday. We'll just have to see.
The Quinn Ewers story is one of the craziest things in college football right now, because everybody assumed, this was his last year and Arch is the future, and everybody knows that, and Texas made that clear. But he kind of hadn't had his best year, so now he might do another year of college and not go to the NFL. And so supposedly there's NIL offers out in the Big Ten that are millions of dollars. And, like, he's trying to play for a freaking national championship, and then maybe going to a different Big Ten. And what if he ends up back at Ohio State?
Are we going to get into the NIL and transfer portal world?
Of course.
This is nuts. I mean, we'll be here for 12 hours if we do this. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like the window of the portal and the way that basically you're able to poach kids by luring them away with NIL money. And not that they're poaching him from Texas because he was, he's not the guy next year anyways, but it's wild. Now, I do think there's an element for the athlete. Good for him. If he can capitalize and make $2 or $3 million, it's more than he's going to make in the NFL next year and perhaps, ever in his career. So get it while you can, I guess. But the whole thing is just insane. And it just gets wilder and wilder as time goes on.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a story that broke late yesterday afternoon that's got to be discussed with Diego Pavia. So he challenged an NCAA court ruling about, and basically the premise of what happened was they gave him another year eligibility, but they ruled that JUCO years don't count against NCAA eligibility.
Which is wild.
And if that holds up, think about the dominoes in that. Because now all of a sudden that means you can go poach JUCO kids and they still have four years eligibility. And the reaching effects of that are crazy. That's going to really – I mean, high school recruiting is already getting killed by this portal.
Yeah.
But if that happens and people can start going to JUCOs and getting 4-year guys, that's going to hurt high school kids even more, and more of them are going to end up in JUCOs.
Yeah, so I had Vanderbilt against Tennessee the final game of the regular season, and I asked Diego about it. And at that point, he couldn't really talk much, but we knew the court date was coming up. And then I talked to some insiders and people around it, and to be honest, most of them thought it won't happen because the precedent that it sets, exactly what you just mentioned, of all the JUCO kids. So I kind of was like, okay, well, we'll move past this. We didn't really talk much about it. And then it comes down yesterday that he's granted another year, and then the fallout of that with everybody else, like it's a huge, huge story. And it's more of what we're seeing, what we have been seeing the last couple of years, that power is being taken away from the NCAA when it goes to the judicial system. And, the NCAA, just less and less power ultimately is where we're at. Yeah.
What was he like just Vandy week? Because he seems like a just ridiculous character from Mexico.
He's so confident. I mean, my favorite story he was telling us was he was on the phone with Vanderbilt's general manager. All these college programs have GMs now. And this was before he had ever talked to Clark Lee, the head coach at Vandy. And he was telling the GM, if Clark Lee wants to win, have him call me. And then he hung up the phone. That's the way he describes the story. It's just like, if he wants to win, have him call me. And hangs up the phone. And I was like, okay. Everything that we had heard about him, I felt to be true in that conversation I had with him. And then you listen to him pregame. I mean, this guy is juiced. He is saying, cuss words every 3 words.
Least likely person to play quarterback for Vandy of all time.
Yes, but he's been entertaining, and they've won there, and it's been fun.
Yeah, for sure. No, he's just a character. So so you've been following it every week. You're on the crew with Dave and Dusty, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so it's a wild. As I've gotten to know Taylor, it's like a wild process. You never know where you're going until the Sunday before.
Yeah, correct. So they have to wait for all of the games to unfold that previous week to determine the matchups, right? Because if a team wins or loses, it therefore changes the next week's matchups and the importance of those. So usually Sunday morning we get an email that just has a grid of where everybody's going, and that's usually when I find out where I'm headed. Yeah,
that's interesting. Every week you've got this sweat on where am I going.
Yeah,
you usually know it's one of 3 or 4 games.
I mean, you can kind of narrow it down. Here are the possibilities. And then this year, because ESPN had exclusive rights to the SEC, one of the things that they did before the season is they named time slots. You probably saw that. So before the season, they predicted, okay, this game's going to be an early kick, this game's going to be a 3:30 kick, or this game's going to be flexed tonight. And so that was able to narrow down some options for us as the season went on. But we play this game with my crew on Fridays and Saturdays when we're on the road of where are we going next week. And we can drive ourselves insane and talk ourselves in and out of every scenario. But it's part of what makes the job fun, is just, getting to experience different things and, kind of riding the wave of college football as it's unfolding.
There you go. Well, so this year was you obviously did a lot of wild ones this year, especially in November. You went to LSU Florida in the Swamp.
Yeah.
And I saw the Tom Petty fourth quarter thing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And I had done a noon game there before. Hits totally different at night. Now, that was the 3:30 kick. So, by the time it rolled around to the fourth quarter, it was dark out. And, I mean, I am getting goosebumps just thinking about it because those types of traditions are what make college football so special. And if you are just a college football junkie and you want to experience environments, I suggest going to a game in the Swamp at night and experiencing Tom Petty going into the fourth quarter because it's really, really cool.
No, I've always been a big Petty fan, so I'm all about that.
Which is, by the way, how we kind of connected at first because our musical interests are very similar.
Yeah. I couldn't believe that. That's funny on the rabbit. There's so many rabbit holes that can be going down with Taylor. But
Bring up the South.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so you grew up in Denver.
I did.
And honestly, yeah, you've a cool backstory too, because you're I have a lot of respect. Your dad was, I mean, unbelievable. Played for the Broncos and Rockies president.
Yeah. My dad had a cool football career because he played high school football in the state of Colorado, went to Colorado State, and then played for the Broncos. So there were only Philip Lindsay was the last guy to do it. So I remember when he was playing for the Broncos, there was a list that was floating around. I think it's 15 guys in the history of the Broncos to have played high school football, college football, and played for the Broncos, college football in Colorado, and then, played for the Broncos. So, yeah, super cool. I grew up in a football family. My grandfather was a longtime high school football coach. And then our family made the transition into baseball when my dad got hired by the Rockies, which is a whole long story of just being nice to people because ultimately that's kind of how he got the job is he had just been really kind to a guy in college and then that guy's dad ended up buying the Rockies and so on and so forth. So anyways, yeah, great story there, but super grateful to have sort of learned all sports through osmosis because I was sort of forced into it.
So like when you were a kid, you've been a football fan since you were a kid?
Oh, yeah. Yes. 100%. I mean, so for us in Colorado, the big game was the Rocky Mountain Showdown, which is CSU, which, by the way, I've loved the last few years how much attention that game has gotten because of Dion.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, gosh, that was one of the best games of the season. It came right down to the wire for Colorado State. Really should have won that game a couple years ago, but we digress. That was the college football game I kind of grew up on. We went to that game every single year. And then I'm going to be honest, Denver is Broncos country, so, everybody watches the Broncos on Sundays, and because of my dad's connection there, we watched a lot of NFL, a lot of NFL football, and then obviously the Rockies. The Rockies were the main thing on in our house simply because of my dad's job, but we definitely loved football as well.
Got it. Well, it kind of works out because baseball and football seasons are only together. They're only a month there's 2 months where it correlates.
Yeah.
And I know that's got to be crazy for you because Taylor, we're talking all about college football, also works for Marquee for the Cubs. And so
Are the Cubs back?
I saw the Cubs. Well, yeah, but they traded. What do you think of them trading? But then they traded Bellinger.
Well, but that made sense to me because it made sense.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Kyle Tucker move, big move for the Cubs. And so you do Cubs for 6 months. So you do some like spring training and then you do the season. Is that how it works?
Yep. Yeah. There was a point in time when I did every spring training game. Not so much anymore. We kind of like to tone it back a little, but it's nice to get down to Arizona in February, March, because it's a dream down there. I usually go down for the Waste Management Open in early February, and that's kind of my kickstart to spring training. Pitchers and catchers report usually right around then, and so I'll go to the Waste Management Open, stay for pitchers and catchers, and then do a couple of the first games, and then come back. I usually try to take majority of March off before the season starts again because it's a grind.
Yeah, I believe it. 162 games is not a short amount. And then you get hit with the crossover season where you have Cubs in September and football.
Yeah.
So people always joke with me like the Mintzy tour thing. Like I travel a lot. I ain't never seen anything like what Taylor's travel schedule. It's the hardest thing to keep up. I love it, obviously, but it can make life challenging. It can make dating really hard. Yeah, I believe that.
It's like, oh, I'll see you in 5 weeks from now on a Tuesday at 9 a.m. Are you free?
Yeah. That was like the New York thing when I lived there. It was so weird to me that it was like, oh, yeah, we'll get dinner in 7 weeks on Wednesday night at 6:30. I'm just like, what? But that's like how New York worked. It was so.
Is it? Maybe I should move to New York.
Yeah, maybe you'd fit right.
The guys here don't like to do that. They don't like to go out.
No, it's weird. No, it's weird. Other games I want to mention, you worked that crazy BYU Arizona State game when Arizona State rushed the field,
prematurely.
But there was still a second left, and then BYU threw a Hail Mary and got stopped. But that scene went real viral you were in with Kenny Dillingham.
That was crazy. Okay, so we had been told Friday that there was most likely going to be a field storming because of the nature of that game. I mean, Arizona State was picked to finish last in the Big 12, and then they've had this miraculous run. They were hosting BYU, which, you know, at that point, if they beat BYU, they're probably going to the Big 12 title game. And so it was a huge game, and everybody said if Arizona State wins, fans are going to rush the field, blah, blah. So we were prepared for it, right? So then it's like Arizona State jumped out to this huge lead. BYU starts climbing their way back into that game late in the fourth quarter. And then Arizona State just basically had the ball, needed to eat clock, and they were going to win the game. So they do that, but ended up throwing those. Yeah,
he ran around, and he chunked it as far as he could.
But there was 1 second left on the clock. But it was like right there. Like it could have gone either way. Anyways, fans are not paying attention.
They thought the game was over.
They thought the game was over. So they start rushing the field, and my one job is to get the interview with the coach, okay? So I'm like bracing myself to beeline myself to Kenny Dillingham to get this interview. So I can hear, I have a headset in to listen to the game broadcast. So I hear them saying like, whoa, there's still a second left on the clock, but like the fans are beelining to Kenny, so I'm beelining to Kenny, and anyways, I'm like standing next to him. Everybody's rushing the field, and I think he knew like, oh, this game might not be over, but he also was like, there's no way they're not gonna say this game is over, whatever, blah blah. So the viral scene that unfolded is he was very upset with the officials that they were going to put 1 second left on the clock and make them give. And by the way, that was a turnover on downs to BYU.
Yeah.
So BYU got the ball back basically with a chance at a Hail Mary to win the game, which they almost did.
I know. What if they had?
It was so crazy. So anyways, I'm standing next to Coach Dillingham, and he's not happy with the refs.
Putting it mildly.
Yeah. And I'm standing right there. And it was funny because everybody was asking me, like, what are you thinking in that moment? Well, side story. When the students rushed the field, they broke my RF. So RF, I think it stands for radio frequency.
Okay.
I actually don't really know what it stands for, but it's my wireless microphone. So they put up basically like cell phone towers in all these different stadiums so that it can transmit the audio to and from my microphone and my headset. Well, when the students rushed the field, they broke it. So my audio wasn't working. My microphone wasn't working. So I'm hearing my producer saying that, like, we don't have your mic, because we were still on the air. And so in that moment, they wanted to come down to me, like, just tell us about the scene, but they couldn't because my mic was broken. And so partly in that video, I think I'm so like concentrated and locked in that people are like, what is going on? And I think I was trying to listen in because I was intermittently getting what my producer was saying. And basically it was like, yeah, we don't have your mic. And meanwhile, I'm also like trying to, fight off all of these other students, and it was great. But I will say,
did you almost get like steamrolled or anything?
Well,
did you ever feel like
so then when the game actually, so they cleared the students partially, just enough to get off the field, and then the game actually does end, and then it's another field storming, and this time I'm like running out to get Coach Dillingham because we thought my mic was back working, and there was a student right behind me, and I wear the RF on the back, like my headset on the back of my dress, just with this like little thing that I attach on, and a student like hit their hand and it fell down.
Oh no.
So I was like, So I'm rushing the field, and there's literally a clip on TV of like you just see my head like dive because I wanted to grab that because it's an expensive piece of equipment, and so I like reached down to grab that, and Kenny Dillingham and one of his security guards like grabs me because they're like, we do not want you to get trampled. So he was really wonderful to me and helped me get out and everything because it was crazy, and everybody's always just like concerned about your safety at that point because if you go down, you literally could probably get trampled.
Gosh,
but,
I'm glad they didn't trample you. On the Dillingham front, what a season! I mean, I've had my eye on him. He was the old offensive coordinator for Mike Norvell at Memphis back when he was like 25.
And then Florida State.
Yeah, and then he was at Auburn for like 1 year, Nick's his freshman year, and then he was at Florida State with Norvell. And then when Nix left Auburn to go to Oregon, Kenny Dillingham was a part of that. He was his OC that first year when Nix went from like leap to Heisman candidate and first round pick. And then that's what got him the Arizona State job. And now he's 35, and he inherited a terrible situation in Arizona State after Herm Edwards had him an NCAA probation. And year 2 gets this hot and wins the Big 12. I mean, this was supposed to be a 3 or 4 year deal. And
if ever. I mean, you look at Arizona State and they just haven't been able to sustain success. And look, it's hard. It's hard there. There's a lot of things that grab people's attention outside of the football program in Scottsdale, Tempe area. And he's done a really good job of getting people in the Valley to buy in, it's really cool to see. I love the story that he told us. I was asking him, I'm like, okay, you live around here. Like, has it felt different? Because it's a big city and there's a lot of people in that city who don't care about Arizona State football. And he was saying how his sister was at the supermarket and, somebody came up to her and like gave her a forks up or whatever. Is it forks up?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Sun Devils.
And he was like, that stuff does not happen at Arizona State or in Scottsdale. He's like, there's people just don't care, but they're starting to care. And that's really cool for him. And I just love the story, how passionate he was. He used to drive around when he was a high school football coach, practicing his speech when he would accept the Arizona State job.
Because he went to Arizona State undergrad, right?
Yeah. And so he talks about activating the Valley, and he's certainly done that. He's activated the Valley.
He definitely has. And I think nobody's giving them or Boise any chance. But I think they have a chance in that quarterfinal.
I think they definitely have a
chance.
The
quarterfinal game in Atlanta, like they're up tempo on turf. I mean, they've got obviously.
They have Cam Scattaboo, and then Boise State has Ashtonjindy, 2 of the best players in college football.
Yeah, and they play the winner of Texas Clemson, who both don't look like totally unbeatable. So I don't know that they could. That Ohio State, Oregon, Tennessee pocket would be their semifinal, and that I don't know if they can get past that. But I don't know. I believe
anything's possible, And I love when I was out Boise, Coach Danielson said it best to me. He was like, as a competitor, you just want a chance. And the old 4-team playoff, neither Arizona State nor Boise State are even considered for one of those 4 spots, but now they're in the college football playoff. They're given a chance to prove what they can do, and that's what you want as a competitor. That's what you want as a fan, is to just kind of see the way that it all unfolds, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's always what made the NCAA basketball tourney so great, is the small school get their day, get their chance. Well, you mentioned Boise, so you went up there, and you got to interview Ashtonjindy, who finished second in the Heisman race, and many people felt should have won it. What was that like?
He was great. So I don't know how much you know about him, but he's really into TikTok. And
okay.
He loves to dance on TikTok. So when I was talking to their SID before, I was like, so tell me more about Ashton. Like, what should I expect? Like, I want to know about him as a person. And he was like, well, if you want to know about him as a person, go look at his TikTok. So I did. And his TikToks are hilarious. So he comes out, and I'm about to interview him, right? And I go, okay. I was like, we're doing a TikTok dance live on TV. Are you ready? And he was so thrown off by that. But then he was laughing, and obviously I was kidding. But no, he was great. Super down to earth. And the thing that I loved about talking to him is he was not going to let what did or did not happen in the Heisman race impact his confidence in himself.
Okay.
I think he has a ton of confidence in what he can do in the way that he can impact a football game. And that's why I'm so excited to see Boise State on a national stage with him in the backfield, because you can't count him out. And oh, by the way, Boise State has played in the Fiesta Bowl 3 times, and they've won every single time.
Yeah.
It's much different with the college football playoff and what's at stake here, but I'm saying, they have a history of doing well in that game. And, usually that was the group of 5 school that would get into that game. And so they've done it before. They beat big time programs in that game, so they could do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the famous Oklahoma game. I think that was 07 when the hook and ladder.
Was that the one with the proposal at the end?
Yeah. That was when Ian Johnson, the Boise State running back, proposed to the cheerleader on the field.
I don't think Ashtonjindy has a girlfriend. Well, I actually have no idea if he has a girlfriend, but that would be funny if he repeated that.
Oh, that would be insane. Yeah, but he's from Italy. That was what's crazy about him was he played football in Italy, and his family moved to Texas because he was good and wanted to have a career. And then he had a great high school career, but Boise was like his only offer.
Yeah.
And then look how that worked out.
Yeah, no, I know. It's great.
What a story. You're right. Boise does have a shot, especially against Penn State or SMU.
I agree. And we've already talked about this, as has everybody who's plugged into college football. Penn State, they got to get back past SMU first.
They do, and I kind of think that's maybe tougher. I'm kind of leaning toward SMU.
By the way, not to pat myself on the back, but I am going to pat myself on the back.
Okay.
Last time I was on this show, who did I say I really believed in as a head coach?
Yeah, Brett Lashley.
I did. Yes. I told you.
Well,
and look at the season they've put together.
They came out that week 1, almost lost to Nevada.
I know. I remember watching.
But they were figuring out the quarterback thing with Jennings and Preston Stone, who's now in the portal.
Yeah. And
then they took off, and what a year! They finished 11-1 regular season, and I felt like they had to make that comeback in the fourth quarter against Clemson. If they'd have gotten blown out, I felt like Bama might have gotten in.
I completely agree.
But, I feel like nobody's giving SMU a chance here. Like, everybody's just, writing them off. I kind of agree. Yeah. And James Franklin's notorious for not winning big games, too. And so...
Just saying.
Yeah.
I like Kevin Jennings a lot. He's been super fun to watch. So, don't sleep. But my point with all of that was everybody's talking about the easy path for Penn State. But I'm like... They still have to get past SMU, and they still have to get past, if they beat SMU, Boise. Yes, sure, it's not Ohio State or Tennessee, but don't sleep.
No. Well, Boise's always the giant killer, too. Yeah. You look at them. Look
how they played Oregon, okay?
Yeah, they lost 38-35 to the number one.
Agreed.
And Jinty went nuts. What do you think about the other game, like Indiana, Notre Dame? Any thoughts on that one? Indiana's such a great story, and I love Signetti. I just, when they played Ohio State and Michigan, they had so much trouble moving the ball, and I can't get past that.
Yeah, I agree. Every time I've wanted to tune in and really watch Indiana, it has not gone particularly well for them, most notably in that Ohio State game. I watched basically that entire game. And so it's tough. But look, Notre Dame's not perfect either. And we all know that I think they're playing their best football right now, but they have holes too. So that's what it's so great about these 4 games. Somebody asked me on a radio show yesterday, where do you see the upsets happening? And I was like, I could pick any of these games to be upset games. I can see Indiana beating Notre Dame. I can see SMU beating Penn State. I could see Clemson beating Texas. Obviously, the Tennessee-Ohio State game isn't, I don't know, really want to call them favorites or underdogs because it's pretty evenly matched. But, either of those teams could win. And
I feel like if I had to rate it, I would say SMU best chance, and nobody's talking about it.
Clemson after that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I just can't see Indiana winning. That's the one.
But maybe. Here's the thing about Indiana. Yes, we talk about those bigger games that they have not had this type of success, but they've still beat everybody on their schedule who they were supposed to beat, And
they blew out a lot of people, too.
Yeah, and they blew out a lot of people. And so there's something to be said about that. And we'll see what Curt Signetti. Google him. Have you Googled him? He wins. Okay.
Yeah. That's more. It's more. That's been made utterly clear. But yeah, and then the Tennessee Ohio State's fascinating to me too for so many reasons. But I don't know. I'm kind of, as the week goes on more and more, I think Ohio State's going to win. I don't know if they'll cover the 7 though.
We'll see. Ryan Day, obviously, the story for him is he's fighting for his life right now. I don't know if he's over the loss to Michigan. I had them last year in the Ohio State-Missouri game right after they had just lost to Michigan. And obviously that they didn't get in the college football playoff. Michigan did. They went on to win the national championship. But he was so defeated. And again, there's a big difference between playing in just a New Year's Six versus now playing in the expanded college football playoff and what's at stake here. But I hope for his sake he's over it, because he last year was not at this point last year. I've had Tennessee a couple times. I think Tennessee's defensive line is incredibly impressive. I think they're the deepest D line in the country, and most coaches will tell you that. They just rotate in dude after dude after dude. And then I think Nico Iamaleava is playing really well right now. The game we had him at the very end of the season against Vanderbilt was probably his best game of this season. And so if he can continue to ride that, I mean, this is a kid who had a ton of hype coming out.
Yeah, people were talking Heisman early in the year.
Right. And like, look, he's still young in his career. And that's the thing that we sometimes gets lost, because we have these like 50-year college football players. Like, this guy is so young and new in the game versus other quarterbacks who are having success. Like, you got to give him a little bit more time. But I think as the years gone on, he's gotten more comfortable, and hopefully for Tennessee fans, he's peaking at just the right time.
Yeah, well, I'm curious how he'll do in the cold, being a Cali kid, because it's going to be
Don't ask Josh Heupel about this, okay? Because so Josh Heupel, for those unfamiliar, is from South Dakota, okay? So going into our game against Vanderbilt, it was supposed to be like 40 degrees. So we were asking Coach Heupel, like, well, you know, how do you think your guys are going to react? Which, granted, 40 is not 20, so it's a little more intense up in Columbus this weekend. But he basically was like, I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't want to hear it. It's gonna be just fine. I mean, this guy's probably gonna be wearing shorts on Saturday. Like, it's not a factor for Coach Heupel, so I think he's, you know, letting his players on to believe that it won't be a factor for them either. But we'll see.
A reminder, the Barstool.
Easier said than done.
Barstool College Football Show from Columbus, 5 p.m. They're headed to Tennessee, Ohio State, which ought to be quite the scene with Dave Portnoy, the Michigan man,
That'll go
trolling the Columbus, Ohio faithful. But that should be quite a turnout, so check that out if you're on Ohio State's campus on Saturday. Oh, a couple other things to mention with you. So one thing, when I've got to be friends with Taylor, this was like kind of cosmic. So the Ole Miss Kentucky game that got me hired from the video,
yes.
you were working the sidelines.
I did that game.
Yeah.
So yes, so funny, because we were talking about this years later, obviously, and I was asking Mintzy about his story, kind of how he got hired at Barstool, because I wasn't really familiar, and then he told me about it. And it's funny because I vaguely remember that video going viral after the game, just because it was the game that I was on, and so, you know, you pay attention to that kind of stuff. And then when you showed me the video, I was like, I have seen this video. Like, I remember when this happened. So yeah, it's kind of full circle, and we've been on the sidelines for multiple games together.
Yeah. I met you at the Cincinnati Tulane game, Halloween weekend in NOLA in 20. It was Luke Fickell's last year when Cincinnati made the playoff.
They were number 2 in the country at that point.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah.
Halloween NOLA. Always is, but you're fun to keep up with. Like it just never like I said, the Taylor tour makes the Mintzy tour look like wiffle ball.
I try to keep up where I'm at for myself most of the time. I can't even keep track.
Well, you got a good tan right now because you just went to Mexico.
I was just in Cabo. Do I look tan?
A little bit.
I was my last day. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna put on sunscreen. You know, I feel like I have a base tan. That was a mistake because I burnt myself the last day, but hopefully it lasts a little bit. I'm actually going back to Mexico for a wedding in a couple weeks, so I'm like, if you could just hold on so I'm not like pale going back there, that would be nice.
So you moved to Chicago, I believe, in 2019?
2020.
2020? Okay,
Yeah.
And you were working for the Rockies, and then you came to the Cubs?
Yeah. And when you moved here 2 years ago?
I moved here last Halloween. I've been here over a year. I love Chicago, though.
Yeah,
I really do. I mean, I know the winter's obviously rough, but like the way I look at that, I was living in New Orleans, and the New Orleans summer was awful too. So it's just like trading one for the other.
Okay, I know what I want to ask you. So you said you love Chicago. Last time I was in here, you had never been to any of the RPM restaurants. We went to
RPM
Seafood.
It was good.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
I'm helping Mintzy figure out the Chicago food scene. I'm helping him figure out where he can take his dates, because I am his dating counselor.
There you go.
Which is awful, because like, ask me how my dating life is. It's not great. But have I given you good advice?
You have given me good advice.
You want to know what my advice for him is?
So go for it.
Okay, so he'll tell me about women or whatever, and my advice is, Mintzy, you're the king of the South. Like, you don't.
You say it, the shirt says it.
You are the king of the South. You get what you want, and you do not chase. He's very respectful of women.
Thank
and
you.
You're super kind. But yeah, don't chase, Mintzy. You are the king of the South.
There you have it. Taylor
you
knows
go.
who the king is.
Yeah, I know who the king is. And I'm sure the reaction on social media will be quite lovely because I thought it was hilarious when you put out that tweet last night.
Well, look, okay. So the backstory of that. So I texted Taylor. I said, hey, like I was going to just post a pic of her on social to put on Wake Up Mintzy. And she's like, post that pic of us together. I was like, I mean, you said it's okay.
I don't care.
Oh, no, we're just friends.
Yeah,
we're
no,
friends,
I was like, it's
obviously.
great. It's great. And I love
The reaction, though, the reactions were unreal, though.
the reaction. My favorite is average SEC couple. And I'm like, okay, but here's the thing. Mintzy is way cooler than like every guy I've ever dated in Chicago.
Thank you.
You are. You're way cooler.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm like, the haters online.
Oh, dude, the hate are gonna come. I mean, dude, like, it's
funny. No,
it is. It's misunderstandings, you know.
Yeah.
Just the cycle. It's like the roller coaster. Things are good, then crash, then up. But we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
We're still alive, and there's a lot to be grateful for in this year.
Heck yeah.
What's so looking forward to 2025? I mean, obviously, so you have some. You're not just working in this quarterfinal, so you have some other bowl games too.
Yep. So after this game, I will go Alamo Bowl, Colorado BYU.
So you get Dion and you get Shador's last game.
Shador and Travis's last game. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a ton of fun. Yeah, on ABC. I think it's standalone on the 28th. So hopefully all college football fans are tuning in watching that game. It's going to be fun. And then some more after that, which we'll announce later.
Okay.
But yeah. That's great.
So you got a few more games, and then do you get like a break before you do spring training? Like, because I mean, it seems like you do the 6 months of Cubs and football. Do you get like a little breather?
I get a breather, and you know what I do in my downtime? I go skiing, snowboarding. So I just recently bought a split board, which for those unfamiliar, it's what you use in the backcountry. So it's a snowboard that splits into skis so that you can skin up a mountain, put it back together, and then snowboard down. So really into the backcountry, cannot wait to get back home. I'm from Denver, Colorado. So gonna go shred some POW.
Where where do you like of the ski towns? Where do you have to go?
Well, I kind of go all over. I mean, my family had a home in Breckenridge growing up, but Breckenridge has just gotten a little too touristy for me, so I don't go back there a ton. I will still go there because I know the mountain like the back of my hand, but I love Vail. I'm going to the Beeve in a couple weeks for a weekend, and then one of my best friends lives in Crested Butte, Colorado, so I go stay with her for I basically just move in. I'm like, I'm your roommate, here we go. So I love going up there. Telluride's awesome. I'm gonna go to Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Nice. I've never been to Jackson Hole.
Oh, it's great, especially in the winter. We're gonna go heli skiing. We tried to go heli skiing last year, but all of the helicopters kept getting grounded because it was too overcast to fly. So hopefully this year we can finally get to heli ski at Jackson because
Wait, what is heli ski? What does that mean?
So basically they take you in a helicopter up to the top of the mountain.
Okay.
It's just like going into the backcountry, but the helicopter does all the work. You don't have
to so you don't have to take the ski lift, yeah. Yeah. So but they'll take you to areas like not on the resort. It's in different areas. So you got a bunch of football games, then you got a Mexico wedding, skiing, and then you're gonna go spring training.
Yeah. So there's my life.
That's Taylor Tour. Taylor Tour crushes it.
And I'm gonna be wearing my King of the South shirt.
I love it. You made my day with that. But everybody can follow. You can follow her at Taylor_McGregor on Twitter and Instagram. And look forward to seeing you on the sideline on Saturday. We've got Barstool wise. We got a bunch of stuff. We got a stream tonight for Broncos Chargers Thursday night. We got streams Friday night for Indiana Notre Dame and Saturday night for Tennessee Ohio State. Barstool College Football Show 5 p.m. in Columbus on Saturday, and we're going to be streaming Sunday because it's weird. You know, this is the busy, and you're obviously seeing it. You got all these games. It's like Christmas, New Year's falls on the busiest time for college football. You got bowl games, playoffs, NFL season. So as always, the stool rolls on. So we've got a ton of fun content. Surviving still going on. Wild show last night. As always, I will say nothing about it on here to not spoil anything. But there's another show. The ninth edition is tonight. Surviving Barstool. The reviews are unbelievable. It's like literally like the most trending show on YouTube and on Twitter in the world. And X right now in the world. So shout out to our production team. Did such a great job on it. They blow me away. And then we had a big time, the Jerry After Dark Christmas Spectacular. Awesome Tuesday night. I'm still feeling the burn from Kate's roast, but it was quite funny. So as always, ton of fun stuff going on at the Stool. And Taylor, just want to say thanks again for coming by. And you're about to head to the airport and catch your flight to Austin?
Yes.
Heck yeah. Well, let's finish it. I would try to one thing in my one request. All right. We ready?
Yeah.
3.
I forget what song we're singing.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thanks, Tyler Moody, Stella Blue.
Don't leave me hanging.
I'll never.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Y'all, let's have a day.
Yes!
Yeah, that was awesome. That was fun. Man, I love fall. The leaves are changing, football, and Stella Blue coffee. And this season, maple pumpkin pie. But my morning routine would not be complete without Dumpkin Spice Dude Wipes.
Oh, Mintzy, let it rip.
Cheers, furry fellas. Coffee that fuels you, wipes that clean you.